Hello, everybody. I have an amazing founder here again today, Henri from Privy. Henri, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I want to go in from the start in the story. How did you come into crypto? And then in that journey, how did you realize that Privy must be built?
Great question. So I came into crypto through academia. I started a company out of college. The company shut down after a few years. And I went back to grad school thinking I had unfinished business with CS. And really, I think there's a professor at Stanford called Dan Bonnet who I took one class from and was like, I need to take every class that this person teaches. And that ended up being a very good curriculum for crypto because it was applied cryptography, it was distributed systems. And I thought I was going to get a PhD basically in those fields. And ended up talking to a friend who told me, hey, if you want to do cutting edge research, but you also want to ship product, you should join me at my company, Protocol Labs. And so I joined this company that was building basically very large scale distributed systems, distributed CDNs like IPFS and storage networks like Filecoin. And so I joined Protocol Labs and spent the better part of 3 years there basically working on these protocols, doing a lot of research. And that's really how I got deeper into crypto.
Mm-hmm. And in that context, let's better understand the gestalt there, right? You're working on different kinds of projects at the same time, all of which are very foundational. How do you stumble on the value proposition for Privy?
I think out of deep anger, which is to say so I came into things from really interest in the underlying systems behind basically building this massive open sort of internet scale system that anybody can tap into permissionlessly and all of the problems that causes around congestions, around permissions, around verifiability. And as I got deeper into it, I think I obviously got red-pilled by the idea that this having an open ownership layer for the web as a whole can be transformative and can be one of the most meaningful things that we actually build. And I think it espouses another thing I've been thinking about a lot, which is the web is arguably the most important thing we've built as a species since agriculture, more or less. And it was never built to put all of this data and all of this value on it in the way that we do today. And so this technology ends up being an amazing complement to the information systems that already exist. So that part of the crypto vision, I think I felt very strongly. I think on the flip side, every time I talk to a friend in tech or elsewhere who wasn't in crypto and I tried to explain what I did, I would see sort of their eyes glaze over. And I thought, man, we've done such a poor job making these systems usable. And by and large, every app I've ever used in crypto is really bad. And I don't actually think anyone in the space cares. And you know, the joke I would tell myself in my early days of being in crypto was, if none of this works out, at least we'll have funded really good cryptographic research. And I think we're past that point. We're way past that point now. But I think that mindset of the research and the technical underpinnings of the space are the only thing that matters, which is how I came into it, has seeped in so much that for the better part of at least the last 5 or 6 years, I felt like builders in the space didn't care about products or about users or about utility enough. And I think it's kind of why, arguably one of the space that's found the most product market fit is something like DeFi, because it doesn't matter that the UX is so bad, insofar as
the incentives
the incentives are aligned. And so I think my take when I left the industry around the time of COVID was, this is amazing. I think this is such a foundational piece of the internet. And also, it will never have the impact it deserves to have because we are not focused and not able to build sort of wider aperture products that can appeal to everybody. And so I left the industry really thinking this will be great nights and weekends for me, but probably not where I can build my career. And little by little, thinking through data privacy, thinking through where to build performant software, sort of got back into the thinking of maybe the core issue is that we don't know how to build for people in this space. All we know is how to build for wallets. And so if we can bring sort of people back into the mix, if we can let developers, do something as simple as send an email to a user to tell them they're about to get liquidated in, say, the Maker protocol or something like that, it changes the way developers build. It changes the way users interact with these products. And I think it opens up the aperture of what can find product market fit in crypto overall. So that's how we got into Privy. The idea being, scalability and security are two large crypto problems, but I think usability is the third. And by building more performant, more secure systems, we can actually open up the usability of crypto systems altogether.
So you then realize, hey, I left this because it's not addressing a big market, it's generally unusable, and then you came back to solve the problem that caused you to leave in the first place, in a way?
Exactly. I thought maybe this problem is our opportunity. I still believe in the foundations and the underpinnings. There are so many great people here, and I actually think if we can build tooling that makes it easier to focus on your core product's utility, on your users, then we can actually move the space, was the hope.
So briefly explain how Privy works today for the different kinds of user profiles. I think you have a particular mind map of how you understand the different groups of users. So what's your mental framework, and how do you have them currently interface with the product?
So Privy builds developer tooling. We build onboarding and wallet infrastructure systems so app developers can reach a wider audience. We want to help them grow their own market. And the idea is it's one library to onboard every user, whether they're super crypto native, they already have 15 wallets across providers, or whether they've never heard of crypto at all and frankly don't care. They're here for your product, they're not here for the technical stack.
Yeah.
And the point is, with the one library, you can have users connect their existing wallets. You can create sort of rich user accounts where you understand all the ways in which the user is connected, not only to your app, but to the chain. And you can, if they need it, generate embedded wallets for these users, and wallets that are fully self-custodial, that are orchestrated by Privy, but that the user is the only one who controls. That sit within your app, so you have greater control over the app experience and the sort of flows that you power. We serve both sort of B2C businesses and B2B businesses. And that means, infrastructure providers who are building, say, stablecoin on-ramps for mainstream fintech apps, as well as, say, new social products, building things like prediction markets or creator tooling or, marketplaces. So we serve a pretty wide range of folks, and a lot of what we're focused on is the developer experience of setting users up so that they can very quickly get from onboarding to transacting really, really good.
So let's take one group for a moment, and in their engagement with Privy, what is the user experience for their clients that is now different between before Privy and after Privy, to really put into clear perspective the value proposition that your client gets from utilizing Privy? What's the journey before Privy from onboarding to transaction, and what is the journey with Privy from onboarding to transaction?
It's a great question. Maybe I'll use 3 examples to kind of show the gradation and progression of the space. So one of our customers, for example, is OpenSea. In OpenSea, you can connect either with your wallet, or now you can connect with an email. And this is powered by Privy under the hood. So the difference is somebody new to the space is coming. They can type in their email. The email gets verified. They have a wallet built under the hood. The interfaces for it are basically, it's your OpenSea wallet that operates on site and that allows you to purchase an NFT with a credit card. So the difference is having had to download MetaMask, store your seed phrase, onboard assets into MetaMask, probably through either the sort of built-in flows or through your Coinbase account, connect MetaMask, unlock it and so on, to I type in an email, I put in a credit card, and I'm good to go. The second example might be an app called Courtyard, and Courtyard is building basically a marketplace for people who want to trade baseball, basketball, Pokemon cards. It just so happens that these cards are digitized under the hood, but the user doesn't know this, and the user doesn't care. The user is here because they really like Pokemon, for example. And so these are folks who are connecting only via email and are getting a wallet under the hood, but don't know it. And so this means the competition for a company like Courtyard is Web2 incumbents, and they get to utilize crypto because they get to lean on liquidity that exists in NFT marketplaces when they digitize these cards. So they have a more liquid market thanks to it. They get to do really interesting experiences, for example, bundling cards into starter packs that people can unpack in real time. And they get to do this because all of these cards are digital copies of the cards, as opposed to having to bring together the physical copies, package the packs, and so on and so forth. So the velocity of trade goes way up thanks to crypto in this case.
Yeah.
And this is all an experience that appeals to mainstream users entirely. The third example might be a product called SukuPay. And Suku is building basically an international Venmo. You connect with your phone number, you get a wallet under the hood, you can move stables into it and then send money globally without a care as to whether the person you're sending to also is on, say, Swift Rails or has a US bank account and so on and so forth. And so the delta here, again, is between building this product by forcing everyone through the flows of, hey, welcome to crypto. Let's get you your first wallet. Remember to store this. Okay, when you make a transaction, we're going to take you out of the app. This is a mobile app. We're going to take you out of the app. Come to this other app. Yeah. Oh, no, you backgrounded that for 15 seconds. The connection got killed by iOS, so you're going to have to restart the entire process, but bear with us. We promise it's important enough for you to send like $2 that you should be putting up with this shit. And so I think the big difference is, again, by having all this embedded within the app.
Yeah, that's a great way to juxtapose
it. You change the interaction model and what becomes feasible in the space.
And then there's the counter argument that, oh, if you do this email, then how do you ensure it's going to be just as secure for the $2 or 20 or 200 or 2,000? And what's the argument that will allay the concerns for, hey, actually signing the transactions for your assets with this email-owned wallet is just as secure?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, I mean, I think the argument is threefold, right? The first is we try to be as transparent as we can be with the way everything works, and that is to say, in our documents, we have probably, I think, one of the most comprehensive security FAQs that I've seen on any website, talking about various threat models, talking about all of this. We're maybe the hard thing you learn when you study cryptography and applied sort of security in school is that security is a question of probabilities. It's not a binary. A system is not secure or insecure. It is secure against a threat model and an attacker that has this or that amount of funding. Bitcoin itself is secure up to a point. And I think learning to work with developers, understanding their threat models and the types of assets that they're securing on behalf of their users or that their users are securing in their app. And then making sure that the system is tunable to fit those threat models is basically the major part of our work. So to actually answer your question, how do we build that trust? How do we guarantee these things? First, it's by being transparent, by sharing information, by letting developers see how things work, by getting audited, by pushing out these audit results, by open sourcing our crypto system, all these things that we've done. Second is actually by building in the right controls. So you come into Courtyard, you have an empty account, you're going to trade your Pokemon cards. Your expectations on security are very different than you coming into, say, Hyperliquid, a decentralized exchange, another one of our customers, where you were here to trade. And the defaults, the settings in both of these apps should be different. And so this is where we build things like user-owned recovery systems, where you can connect your cloud to store parts of the key shares that we help orchestrate on your behalf. This is where you add MFA for every transaction. All of these features that, again, the idea that wallets should be monolithic and should be the same across apps and across users is insane. Even for two users of a given app, their experience is likely to be different depending on how they're using the app. And so, the hope for us is we enable you to build a Metro card where you can swipe in really easily and go through, as well as a bank vault that's bolted onto the ground that's heavy, but that is like welded shut. And our system has to have the controls that allow you to move from one to the other smoothly. The third is frankly scale and battle hardness. We've onboarded over 25 million users to 500 plus apps. The types of hardening that you go through when you do this, when your customers are targets, when you have to build detection and response systems and so on, it's a very dissatisfying answer, frankly, because what we hope to say is, here is the cryptographic silver bullet. And people will talk about MPC and TEEs. These are systems that we leverage generally. But the reality is there's no silver bullet, because these are the bricks in a secure wall. But ultimately, how you mortar the wall together matters just as much as whether the bricks are used correctly. So a lot of it is frankly battle hardening that comes with experience.
Absolutely. And that frames Privy as the tunable, scalable, customizable interface between the product and the asset owners whatever the assets might be, and you're offering the developers of these apps, whether they're in the enterprise or more DeFi native, to actually go ahead and use Privy in the use cases and the level of security required for the user experience.
That's right, and we have to straddle, in a sense, both ends of the extreme, which is to say build a system where we have, for example, pre-built UIs that you can use out of the box, so that if you want to get set up and you want to start experimenting, you can do so in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're ready to go, you're ready to build, you're ready to iterate. And I think that's extraordinarily important to the space, because we need more iteration. We need people trying out more things. It needs to be easy to start in crypto, because as somebody who is about to build something new and I have the universe of things I can build on the internet, why would I pick a space where it takes me 5 days to get anything up and going? And I think conversely, we also build, access to the low-level crypto systems, so that as a team, you can tune every little thing, you can completely customize the interfaces, and we're really giving you a bare metal API that you can use to orchestrate basically this fleet of wallets that your users control. And so we do a lot of work basically to work at both ends of those extremes and everything in between.
That's a nice transition to the existential challenges that you've faced and conquered. It seems like you've put a lot of time and thought in how to frame the client offering, so it's customizable and tailored for the specific use cases. What was the context where you realized, our use cases are going to be so varied that it makes sense for us to invest time into customizability? Let's unbundle, let's reconfigure, and think of the existing solutions as just bricks, and we're trying to build a system of building walls. Like, what was the point that you realized that that's going to be the direction to take? It seems like it's such a crucial element in how you arrive at the value proposition, and it seems like it probably had a couple of pivots in there to kind of arrive at the final point. But I'm curious, like, what's the backside? What's the story of realizing that's the way to go?
We are not at the end point, and we are very much in that journey. I think you put your finger on probably, asking about existential challenges. I would say there are probably like business challenges and there are product challenges, and this is likely the hardest thing for us to do on the product front. I think we've always had a mindset of product cohesion and power through simplicity are sort of the pillars of how we build, because ultimately, again, we want developers thinking about their products and the usage they enable and the core dynamics where they should be focused, as opposed to reinventing the wheel on something that they shouldn't have to worry about. Did this nonce get iterated correctly in order to broadcast the transaction on chain is never something we want our customers thinking about, and we take care of that. But in that sense, I think the fear with overly unbundling is that it becomes a horrid menu of options where the customer, the developer, has to think about, but do I want, option 1A with option 2B, and did I want, this node network or that one? And so we try to see what are choices that we can make on the customer's behalf where we believe we know what the defaults should be, and we can install those. And then what are areas where, as the customer evolves and goes from a company that's serving 1,000 users to 100,000 to 1 million to 10 million, and that's transacting, say, $1 million in monthly volume to $1 billion in monthly volume, what are the points where they are going to need through that path to change their defaults, to, for example, take over on certain infrastructure from us to them because they actually want more control over, say, the way they're doing indexing of on-chain events or stuff like that. And so I think we're still very much working through at what rate do we unbundle and how do we offer this? What are the different off-ramps in the product journey where the customer may take over or may want to add a service that we provide, and so on and so forth. So you can tell from how unclean my answer is that that's something that we actively work on every day. And the way we do it is by just mostly building with customers. We do very little product work that isn't motivated by a specific customer. So if you ask me, why did you build this feature? The answer is, well, because this customer brought it up to us, and then we heard about it from these 3 others, and we decided we have to do this, and then we worked directly with them to design it for them, with the belief that it was applicable to more people. But that's how we work all the time. We have customer champions, and to make sure we don't go after shiny objects, or to make sure that we don't, do something because it feels right, but it actually is useless to anybody who's using our product. We anchor all of our work in how customers are using it. And that's kind of, I think, what saves us on the product cohesion front.
What other challenges do you see other founders in this space facing that maybe you have been able to deal with? It seems this product cohesion and being customer/client oriented in what you build is a key point. You've nailed it. You're keeping that as a pillar of how you operate. It's a common mistake to go after something that looks right but may never get utilization. So good job. What else?
I think two things. We're so, we're clearly understanding where to invent new paradigms and where not to, from a technology side and from a business side, I think are kind of a key piece. And so I think being very deliberate about where you want to spend your invention points and where you actually really don't. The first company I started went through YC, and I think one of the most useful things that Y Combinator gave us was an ability to really understand these are things that like thousands of startups have solved before, just use the playbook. And these are things that will make or break your product and your company. And that's where you focus your energy. So I think being very intentional there, especially in crypto, especially as the underlying primitives that we use evolve so quickly, kind of really trying to anchor on what are the things that matter to us. And here I'll just use a quick example. When NASA, I think, launched Apollo 11, the technology was so outdated because they'd started the project 10 years prior, and the compute that was available to then was like outstripping it. And I think what leads a lot of crypto projects to delay launches is you see the underlying primitive ZK proofs have gone 3x more efficient. Oh, we can rebuild the product and it'll be 3x better now than it was a year ago. And so let's actually rebuild it from the ground up again. And you do that until the market opportunity has passed or the need that you were trying to solve is no longer there. So I think being very good about setting, these are the things we're seeking to prove out. And unless we can't get there, the fact that we can do better is great. Let's launch this first one and then let's iterate, as opposed to thinking we only do it once. Which is hard because changing networks is extraordinarily difficult. So I get the tension, but I think being better about that I think is really important. The second, frankly, is I think building teams in a volatile space is hard because there are massive opportunities and you want to be there to make the most of them. But you also want to be running the marathon, not the sprint. And so how you scale a team in an environment that fluctuates this quickly is I think something that is a pretty crypto-specific challenge. And at least for us, we've always said, let's bring on very senior people who have a lot of experience, who can be very autonomous, and then let's keep the team as small as possible for as long as possible so we can move very quickly.
And tell me more about how you select the team members, how you recruit them. Is there a method to the madness of how you meet them and groom them or vet them?
It's hard. And so I wish I had a silver bullet. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of repetition. And I think, frankly, for us, it's maybe three things. Obviously, there's a, for lack of a better word, a skill question. Like, are these people where we want to be taking our team, and do they bring the experience and the skills that we need? There's probably a question of hunger and fire. And I think, like, we work pretty hard and we think it's worth it, but we kind of self-select into that. And so making sure that we have team members who are excited about that is, I think, really important. And then I think the third is maybe an approach to the crypto market of the folks on the team. I think 3/4 are new to crypto. This is the first time they've ever worked in the industry. They're excited about improving the internet. They're excited about building better user systems. They're excited about building better developer tooling. And they see crypto as being an extraordinarily exciting greenfield space to make these things happen. But I think balancing these sort of types of thinking and the diversity of sort of ideas that you bring onto the team is really important to us.
And what about fundraising? How have you thought about it in the past? And how do you think about it now? Maybe who you select to raise from, when you select to raise, the amount. How do you think about that?
I'm smiling because I think our lawyer had a sentence early on that I thought was very good, which is you eat when dinner's served. And so how much we get to do these things is a good question. I think we've been very lucky that we've had really great partners from the beginning. And so we raised our seed round from Sequoia and Blue Yard. These were both investors that we knew really well and wanted to work with. We raised our Series A from Paradigm, and generally, for us, it's a lot about who are the voices that we get to have around the table, how do they structure our thinking, and then that's on the strategic side. Tactically, what doors can they open for us in the next 18 months? So I think it's really balancing those two time horizons. It's like, over the next 18 months, what are the most important things that we need to do, and who helps us go the farthest, the fastest? And then over the next 5 years, am I excited to keep talking to this person every day?
Yeah.
And are they going to challenge our way of thinking in a way that's accretive to what we're trying to do long term?
Makes sense. What do you think about next fundraising?
Honest take is right now we are lucky that we don't need to do it for a few years, and so I think of it in terms of milestones. There's certain customer targets, there's certain usage targets that we have, and until we get there, we're going to keep our heads down, and then we'll sort of pick our heads back up and kind of see where things are at.
I see. Speaking of forward-looking, future, tell me about the vision. Who should work with Privy? What kind of a future you're looking at, and why is it exciting?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're increasingly seeing two things happening in parallel. We're seeing crypto native products going mainstream. Over the last many months, Polymarket's done an amazing job of showing ways in which, for example, prediction markets and Kalshi's in a similar vein, these are products that have broken through from being about crypto to being about something else altogether. And so when you stop talking about a product with a sort of crypto prefix to it, that means it has broken through and it is now a part of traditional vernacular. And I think that's one of the ways in which usage and adoption comes, is by these use cases that are uniquely enabled by our space that actually just stand on their own, where no one is using it because it's a crypto product per se, which is very exciting. I think in parallel, you're seeing adoption of these rails by mainstream players in fintech and elsewhere. I think stablecoins are in a very interesting place, which is not an original thought, but I think is not overhyped. And so I think, broadly, the vision for us is the ways users come into crypto will come in a few different shapes. Across all of them, though, being able to craft really compelling products that are performant and that are secure stands at the heart of what it means for folks to really own their assets and their value online. And so, broadly, what I would say is we are trying to build something that empowers users to be in control when they are within apps, and that makes it easier for developers to build better products with these sort of new vistas open to them. So my pitch for folks who join us would be something along the lines of, if you're interested in building these new primitives for the web that have the opportunity of shaping how we build products altogether, and if you're excited about very interesting sort of cybersecurity and developer tooling challenges, then we're a good place to be.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Henri. I appreciate you giving me the rundown of the story, the value proposition, the challenges you faced and conquered, and the vision. Awesome.
Thank you.